The captain simply touched the windshield, and in an instant, the entire pane shattered, atmospheric pressure surged into the cockpit, and the co-pilot, without a chance to react, was sucked straight out of the window. Only one hand clung desperately to the ledge. The captain grabbed him tightly. Meanwhile, the shattered glass was sucked into the engine, causing the plane's power to drop by half instantly. The cabin alarm blared deafeningly. At this point, the crew sensed something was wrong. The chief stewardess rushed to the cockpit door and knocked, but received no response. The control center on the ground had also detected the anomaly, and was continuously calling the crew. Forcing herself to calm down, the chief stewardess turned to the passengers and shouted, "Everyone, please fasten your seatbelts." Just then, the cockpit door was violently torn open by the airflow. A flight attendant was thrown violently to the floor. Passengers began to suffocate, and someone was already crying out loud. The oxygen masks dropped down all at once, plunging the entire cabin into chaos. Inside the cockpit, the captain's hands had started to shake. With the air pressure too extreme, he had to use the plane's own airflow to pull the co-pilot back in. Without a moment to hesitate, he slammed the control stick forward. The plane plummeted wildly. At the very last moment of extreme angle, he suddenly pulled back hard on the stick in reverse. Using the force of that suction, the co-pilot's body was violently whipped back into the cabin, crashing heavily into his seat. At that moment, a crew member, braving the almost unbreathable airflow, crawled bit by bit into the cockpit, and quickly closed the door. The cabin pressure gradually stabilized. However, both the captain and co-pilot were suffering from severe oxygen deprivation. The crew immediately placed oxygen masks on them. The co-pilot took a deep, gasping breath, and pressed the emergency signal button. The ground immediately activated emergency protocols. All flights were ordered to give way, runways were cleared, and fire, medical, and rescue teams were placed on high alert. But at that very moment, they collided head-on with a thunderstorm. If they diverted, there wasn't enough fuel. If they flew straight through, the plane could disintegrate at any moment. At this point, the captain's gaze was firm. After a moment of silence, he said simply, "Fly through it." The plane plunged straight into the clouds. Violent air currents tore savagely at the fuselage, turning the entire aircraft like a piece of iron scrap thrown into a storm. Luggage from the overhead bins came crashing down. Suddenly, the radar signal disappeared. The ground control called repeatedly, but there was no response. 3 minutes felt like 3 hours. Just as everyone thought the worst had happened, the signal reappeared on the radar. They had burst out of the cloud, but before anyone could catch their breath, a mountain peak loomed directly ahead, less than 100 meters away. The captain gritted his teeth, pulled the nose of the plane up sharply, and the plane skimmed mere feet over the summit. In that split second, everyone held their breath. The plane glided across the snow-capped mountain, and the cabin fell deathly silent. Some were crying, others were laughing. Once the plane descended to 3,000 meters, everyone was finally able to breathe freely, but the hardest part was still to come. Due to severe fuel overloading, even if they managed to land successfully, the plane might overshoot the runway because of its insufficient length. Would the captain be able to make a safe landing?